At some point in their lifetime, 1 in 26 people will have epilepsy. Corewell Health and Helen DeVos Children's Hospital specializes in top-of-the-line epilepsy care for children. Joining us now on Wellness with Wood to tell us more about epilepsy and how his team treats it is pediatric neurologist Dr. Seth DeRees. Thank you, doctor, for joining us on this important topic.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
So epilepsy can look very different in a lot of different cases. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think before talking about what is epilepsy, it's important to understand what is a seizure in the first place. So a seizure is defined as abnormal brainwave activity that results in some sort of clinical change to the body, right? And that can be any kind of change. That could be abnormal movements, it could be loss of movements, it could be changes in sensation, changes in levels of awareness, all those different things. So that's a seizure. And then epilepsy is defined as 2 or more unprovoked seizures, or a single unprovoked seizure with an abnormal EEG or an abnormal MRI that would indicate continued risk for seizures.
Yeah, so it doesn't always look like what we see in the movies.
Absolutely not.
Right, it can look very different.
Yeah. It has such a variety of different appearances, most definitely.
So then I imagine there are a variety of ways to treat it. What do you do when it's not treated with medication?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I mean, first of all, most patients with epilepsy are well treated with medication. So 75% of patients will respond to the first or the second anti-seizure medication that they are prescribed. So it really is only that 25% that we have to really start to dig around and figure out what other options are available. And when I talk to my patients about that, I always split it up into basically 3 major categories. You can have one category, which is dietary modification. Most classically, that's the ketogenic diet, which is a diet that's high in fat, high in protein, low in sugars and carbohydrates. And we work very closely with a registered dietitian who helps our patients with that diet for those who are eligible for the diet.
Yeah.
Another category that we have is called neuromodulation or neurostimulation. I like to think of it as a pacemaker for the brain. That comes in a couple of different forms. One of them is what we call a vagus nerve stimulator, which is a device that's surgically implanted into the chest. And it's got a wire that will connect from that device to a special nerve called the vagus nerve. And every 5 minutes or so, it will send an electrical stimulation through that wire into the nerve, up the nerve, into the brain. And that continued stimulation will reduce seizure frequency, seizure severity. And then the other type of neuromodulation is called responsive neurostimulator. And that's a little bit more invasive. Instead of placing something into the chest, we are actually working with our neurosurgeons to surgically implant electrodes directly into the brain.
Wow.
If we can identify exactly where the seizures are coming from in the brain, we can use responsive neurostimulation to stimulate the brain immediately upon onset of a seizure.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
So it sounds like you guys have really come a long way with epilepsy treatment at Helen DeVos Children's Hospital and continue to work on it all the time.
Yeah, that's absolutely. You know, we have a level 4 epilepsy center. We're the only level 4 pediatric epilepsy center in West Michigan.
We're lucky to have that in West Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big deal to have that. It means that we can take on the most difficult cases and we can provide all sorts of different resources, including the surgical options, the dietary options that I was mentioning.
I would love to hear more about this. We need to do a bigger story about this. I'm sorry, I have to wrap now. Dr. DeVries, thank you so much for telling us about this interesting stuff when it comes to epilepsy and the huge strides we're making at Helen DeVos.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.